Red smoke pops, and when Epps starts to leave, he's got 4 people in front of him and 4 people behind him, and they literally get him the hell out of there. They go behind the media and then just disappear. They said he was there by himself, or with his nephew also. They got separated. You know, if he was there by himself, then why are 4 guys leading him out and 4 guys following? It's plain to see. It's obvious.
Now, despite Epps' actions on that day, and despite him being number 16 on the January 6th Most Wanted page for months, his name is mentioned 0 times in that 840-page document. 0. Let me start by explaining to the American people why we are here and why this new committee is necessary. The previous Select Committee assembled by Speaker Pelosi was a sham from the start. It was a total sham. For the first time in the history of Congress, the Speaker rejected the minority leader's selections for who would serve on a Select Committee. Pelosi installed 2 of her puppets, Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney. They both hated Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. The stated purpose of that committee was to examine the security failures and events that led to the breach of the Capitol and to provide recommendations to ensure that it never happens again. But that is not what the previous January 6th committee did. Instead, it set out to destroy Donald Trump and the MAGA movement by convincing the American people that Donald Trump coordinated a violent white supremacist insurrection to overthrow the U.S. government. They did this to justify the prosecution of his supporters and former administration officials and to ensure that he could never become president again. Today, we can say they failed. And they put on a pretty good show. The first thing they did was hire someone to produce all their televised hearings, who they knew would have a knack for making the president look bad, former president of ABC News, James Goldston. Then they set out to have a highly pre-scripted hearing designated to play on the emotions of Americans. For example, the hearing with Capitol Police officers Dunn, Gonell, Fanone, Hodges, 4 Trump haters who gave highly scripted and pre-planned testimonies. All told, the sham committee work cost the American people $18 million. That's right, $18 million. And in the end, they released this 845-page report that failed to achieve the stated purpose of the committee. Instead, it sought to blame the entire event on Donald Trump, whose name was mentioned 4,207 times. The word insurrection, which not a single person was actually charged with, is mentioned 78 times. The Proud Boys are mentioned 218 times, while Antifa, who intelligence confirmed planned to be present, is only mentioned 20 times. The words white supremacy and white nationalists are mentioned 23 times, and MAGA is mentioned 17 times. Meanwhile, Ashley Babbitt, the only person who died by firearm, is mentioned just 5 times. Oh, and remember how we found out from the December 2024 IG report that the FBI had 26 confidential human sources, or CHSs, in the crowd that day? CHSs are mentioned a total of 0 times in this report. I know it's been a long time, but remember Ray Epps. Let me introduce you again to Ray Epps. Play the video.
Into the Capitol! Into the Capitol!
We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's that direction. Please spread the word.
All right, okay, but one more thing.
Yeah, so can we go up there? No?
When we go in,
Are we going to get arrested if we
leave
go
this
up there?
here. Yeah, you don't need to get
Just
shot.
arrest us.
Of January 5th, he is filmed yelling at the crowd that they are going to go into the Capitol, and again on the day in question. He is filmed at the front of the crowd, at the barricades, just before the initial breach. He whispers something into the ear of the guy next to him, and that guy initiates the breach. Then later at 2:43 p.m., a red flare goes up. 2:45 p.m., red smoke pops, and at 2:46, Ray Epps is in video being extracted from the crowd of 8 men, an 8-man team, even though he was allegedly alone that day. Play that clip.
Every 3-letter guy I know that was at January 6th, we all saw the same things happening. We all knew that this was an operation.
Watch the footage on top of the Capitol, and if you fast forward it and watch it, you really do see movement of individuals. You just see them moving through the crowd. The red smoke pops, and when Epps starts to leave, he's got 4 people in front of him and 4 people behind him, and they literally get him the hell out of there. They go behind the media and then just disappear. They said he was there by himself or with his nephew also. They got separated. You know, if he was there by himself, then why are 4 guys leading him out and 4 guys following? It's plain to see. It's obvious.
Despite Epps' actions on that day and despite him being number 16 on the January 6th most wanted page for months, his name is mentioned 0 times in that 840-page document. 0. The previous committee's report highlights that it believes some 2,000 protesters entered the U.S. Capitol building on that day. It's on page 77. By conservative standards, that's less than 2% of the total estimated number of protesters present in the Capitol complex, 120,000 on January 6th. Why didn't the other 98% of protesters rush to the Capitol if that's what Trump supposedly wanted? Why did they not listen to Donald Trump's orders and commands? Why did the vast majority never enter the Capitol building? The first breach occurred 20 minutes before Trump's speech ended. Why would Trump supporters leave a Trump speech and breach the Capitol before the grounds even ended? I yield back the balance of my time. I finished talking about that first breach. This entire document is about Donald Trump. It's about blaming Donald Trump. Donald Trump commanded, he ordered his followers to go to the Capitol to storm the Capitol. I find it interesting because the first breach occurred 20 minutes before Trump's speech ended. Why would Trump supporters leave a Trump speech and breach the Capitol grounds before the speech ever ended? I've been to rallies, this and that. When the boss is up there speaking, nobody leaves early. Nobody leaves early. I tell you why, because there was never a call to violence. There was never a call to violence or a call to storm the Capitol. That was something the militia groups are craving and created on their own. The Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, Antifa, 3%ers, bad actors that day, gotta say it, bad actors. They were acting alone and not listening to Trump. Stuart Rhodes stated that if Trump didn't do what they wanted, they would have to do it themselves. The January 6th resulted from a gross failure of intelligence, not the actions of Donald Trump. Capitol Police Assistant Chief Yogananda Pittman was in charge of the Intelligence Division of the U.S. Capitol Police in days leading up to January 6th and produced a report, the January 3rd Special Event Assessment, and stated, quote, Congress itself is the target on January 6th, and, quote, protesters may be inclined to become violent, and, quote, there have been some worrisome calls for protesters to come to these events armed. Another quote, the sense of desperation and disappointment may lead to more of an incentive to become violent, end quote. Even worse, Pittman testified to the Senate that she had shared the appropriate intelligence with the assistant and deputy chiefs of the Capitol Police, which is unconditionally false. It was never sent or shared. Why can I say that? I can say it with certainty because if you look at Harry Dunn, Officer Harry Dunn's testimony in the previous committee, he states that he believed that January 6th would just be like any other day. He had no independent reason to believe that there would be violence. And in his own words on July 27, 2021 testimony, Harry Dunn stated he thought there was going to be peaceful protests and received no threat warning from the chain of command. So the question is, who lied? Harry Dunn, you're lying, or Yogananda Pittman, who's got a nice job. Pelosi gave her a nice job there in California. So now we know why the Capitol Police was so ill-prepared. We know why. Assistant Chief Yogananda Pittman never shared the intel. Now let's talk about the deployment of the National Guard. In order for the Capitol Police to request outside assistance, the 3 members of the Capitol Police Board must declare an emergency. But this wasn't done. It wasn't done until very late. Isn't it interesting there is not a single word in the report from any of the 3 voting members on the board? How could there not be? Finally, the subject of this hearing, the pipe bomb, only mentioned, guess what? 5 times in this appendix. It's in the appendix at the end of the report, even though the pipe bombs were by far the most serious thing that occurred that day, as they could have killed many people, the VP, the Vice President-elect of the United States. The previous committee nor the FBI cared. They didn't care about it all. Understand the effect of the discovery of the pipe bombs in the timeline. The first pipe bomb was reported to law enforcement at 12:42 p.m., which drew half of the police away from the Capitol building. The officers began arriving 2 minutes later at 12:44. Then the bike wreck perimeter is breached minutes later at 12:53. Now that security at the Capitol has been softened. It's smart. This was organized. This was an operation, folks. And then at 12:59, 6 minutes later, Congress convenes to certify the election. It's very interesting that the pipe bomb is reported just minutes before the joint session convenes. Here's the key the American people need to understand. The FBI, Patel's FBI, didn't get any new information. No new information to find the pipe bomber. They had all the evidence to identify him and had been in possession of Christopher Wray's FBI for the entire Biden administration. It's extremely bizarre, folks. It's bizarre because the January 6th investigation was the largest and most extensive in the history of the FBI. This is the article. The Ray FBI aggressively pursued and charged nearly 1,600 individuals in all 50 states, including elderly individuals who committed no acts of violence. They identified and tracked these people down, breakneck speed, using every tool at their disposal, left no stone unturned when we had an FBI whistleblower disclose to us that they were even pulling agents off of porn cases, child porn cases, so they could catch trespassing grandmas. But for the pipe bomber, there was comparatively no effort to find this person.